which I thought that was pretty neat. I've been watching TV so much lately that I couldn't decide whether to give an acceptance speech or a retirement speech. But maybe I'll just call it inspirational. One story I wanted to tell about was last week my niece Pam was at our house for a visit from Florida. And during one of our conversations, she looked directly at me and she said, "Uncle Steve, was there ever a time you didn't think you'd make it to 80? I looked at her kind of nonchalantly and I said, "No, there wasn't." And she went back to Florida. Well, that thought kept going through my mind all the while. And I thought, there was a few times. And so it kept haunting me, and no matter what the memories were, God always came into my memory of any of these close calls I might have had. Well, I don't tell war stories, but I thought I'd give you a short sea story about what happened to me one time. I was aboard a troop transport ship headed towards Korea, and on this particular night we were almost there, and I had guard duty on the ship. And it was about 3 a.m. in the morning, and it was cold and dark and miserable. And I got bored, so I decided to walk over to the other side of the ship and talk to the guy over there on duty. Well, we talked for a little while, and it started raining real hard. So I said I'd better get back to my station. So little did I know that I was soon to become a hockey puck. The deck had frozen over, and the ship listed a little bit, and down I went, and I started sliding. Now the only thing for guardrails was 3 or 4 cables to keep it from going over the side, and I was headed right for the side. Well, luckily I had my rifle. I grabbed my rifle and I held it up in front of me like so, hoping that it might catch some of those cables. Well, it did. But there I was, my legs and part of my rear end hanging over the side of the ship, and I'm about 30 feet off the ocean. You could feel the waves slapping against the ship, and it's dark and cold. I said, I don't know whether to move this hand or that hand, and I was afraid my weight had the butt of the rifle right in my crotch, and that was kind of keeping me from going underneath the cable. And if I knew if I moved one right hand wrong, my weight would probably kick the butt of that rifle off, and I was gone. But I froze there for a minute, trying to think of what to do, and finally I had to make a quick decision because my hands were freezing. And luckily, I was able to have enough strength to push myself back away from that rail and get my rear end under me and get my feet under me, get back up, standing upright. Well, as I stood there kind of shaking, thinking about this thing, a light came down from the upper deck, down the stairs, and it was the officer of the day. And guess what? He come to tell me, be careful because the deck's slippery shut. I had a few words for him, and I told him what had just happened to me. So it wasn't too long after that over the loudspeaker, the ship commander ordered everybody to load deck. But I thought about that episode. Well, the point of the story is this. I thank God for my rifle.
Yes.
It saved my life.
It sure did.
Thank God for the training and the strength that I had to be able to save myself. But I think with divine intervention, I would live to endure many more of these unexpected adventures. By the way, I lost that rifle a couple days later. I'll tell that story.
That's a good story.
As far as my age is concerned, something happened to me last night. When I went to bed, I was a young 79 years old. Somehow I must have rolled over wrong in my sleep. When I woke up this morning, I had an aching and tired 80-year-old body. And you know, you kids, I'm only kidding, don't you? I feel okay. Well, I spent part of my life doing things, as everybody is told about here, but one of the great things was being in the excavation business with my brother Tom. That was over 16 years. And the other great thing was the opportunity to work with my son Craig. You know, he taught me so much about patience, how to make work fun. But we still go on. I'm proud of all the Illsley offspring, everybody that's stayed in the excavation business. We sure do have a good reputation in this valley, and I'm proud of them all. I didn't want to say that. One of the things, one of the duties I had while I was stationed down in New York there was chaperone for Miss Norway and Miss World pageant for a week. That was hard duty. Let's see. I guess I met some awful, wonderful, and inspiring people along the way. But one of the greatest events of all was sharing my life with Ann, who, by the way, has kept me young over all these years. She's been my barber for 50-some years.
You should be rich.
And, of course, another great thing was trying to learn to be a father to wonderful young people like Craig and Colleen. You know, speaking of age, kind of reminds me of an old car I owned when I was a kid. And the engine kept quitting. So I took it to Russ Cooley, a friend of mine who was a mechanic. And he said it'd be a couple of days. So when I went back to pick it up, I asked him what was wrong. He said, "There's a lot wrong. Start with the carburetor wasn't hard. You know where I'm going with this. The generator wasn't bend. And the pistons wouldn't go up and down." And I'm kind of getting the same way myself. But all joking aside, 80's not as bad as I thought it would be when I was a kid. I may not be able to do what I did at 40, but Ann said perhaps it's just as well. Well, I think that's about all the nonsense or foolishness and good dialect that I have to offer here today, but I just appreciate the surprises, one after the other this afternoon. I don't know if I'd live to be 81 if I had any more surprises than I had today. It really has been great. I just can't thank you all enough. Let's see, was there anything else we were supposed to talk about?
You were gonna yodel for us? I think I remember that.
I was going to yodel?
You were gonna give us a little yodeling demonstration, please? Hey, I sang for you. Yay!
Anybody else want to get up here and get this thing warmed up? I've said enough. I just hope you all enjoyed having a good time here today. I know I have. And how could you not have? I wish we didn't have to get this party over.
Yeah,
did
who's
you
going
have
home?
something you wanted to?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.